Cold calling
B-backs.
is a great strategy. If it's your number one strategy, you're not making any money. How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
Welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. My name is Derek Kelly. I'm joined by Jim Shorkey. And Jim, if the audience hasn't yet, go back and watch episode 1 where Jim debunks and also proves true different sales myths that so many salespeople and people interested in sales talk about. So I wanted to make a part 2 because there was more I wanted you to dig deeper on.
And I have no idea what's coming now, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea. This is truly extemporaneous, and you hear this, and I don't even know, but we're live, and when you hear this happen, it's going to seem like I have notes, but I don't. And it's going to seem like I have preparation, but I don't. I have no idea what Derek is going to ask me. None, zero, zip, nada. So let's go. You're up.
All right. So myth number 1, you must be extroverted to be a good salesperson.
That's a challenging word, extroverted versus being introverted. I think that's probably true. I think you want to be careful that you're not overly extroverted. You've got to take the client into consideration. I think it's a question of really feeling your client, emotionally feeling your client, and trying to adapt yourself to the personality traits of that client.
Yeah.
So if you're overly extroverted and you're dealing with an introvert, that's going to be very uncomfortable for the client. So we got to be careful there. But the fact is, you've got to be confident meeting and greeting, asking questions. You got to be confident with your listening skills. It's called active listening. You got to be confident you got to be extroverted to learn everything you can about the product, to really experience the product, to be able to express the product in an advantageous way to the client. So I think it's a slippery slope question. I think you can be too extroverted to the point where you're overwhelming.
Yes.
I think you can be too introverted to the point where you can't get out of your chair. You can't even go out and talk to the client because you're so introverted. And unless I have a misinterpretation of the word, which is possible, but to me, introverted the extreme version of introverted would be shy, very shy. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just can you Google introvert? What is a true definition? I don't want to give bad information, so I'll let her Google that, and we'll continue with the discussion. But my thought would be it's like a balancing act. I want to be extroverted, very highly extroverted at points, and very highly introverted at points. And so I think, for example, introverted would be really active listening. You've got to go within yourself. And people would say to me over the years, my good friend would be a great salesperson. And I would say, why is that? Oh man, she's got the gift of gab. And my immediate reaction was, that's exactly what's going to make her a terrible salesperson. I remember when I first started selling cars, my dad, he was so intense. I'm literally talking to a customer and he pulls me aside in the service department of the old building. He's beet red. And he says to me, James, he would call me James when he was angry. James, shut the F up. And I'm a little kid. I'm 21 years old. You talk too much. And I'll never forget that. It's called shut mouth, open ears. I'll never forget that. I was literally with the customer live.
Yeah.
You talk too much. You're not letting them talk.
Yeah.
And it was intimidating. My dad was a very intimidating guy. Beet red, angry at me. But he got his point across, and I'll never forget that. And I used to lock these locks and just shut up and listen.
An introvert is a person with qualities or personality type, known as introversion, obviously, which means that they feel more comfortable focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas rather than what's happening around them externally. They enjoy spending time with just one or two people rather than large groups or crowds.
We were talking about a salesperson. And so in that salesperson capacity, this would be a good idea at times.
Yes, correct.
Okay, no, it can't be 100% because you're never going to get out of your chair.
Yep.
Okay, so tell me what an extrovert is. Let's get that definition.
Yep. So
I'll show you what I mean. It's a balancing act. I'm telling you, it's a balancing act. So we want to be extroverted and we want to be introverted. And we want to bounce back and forth between the two. I'm telling you, I've been selling stuff since I was 5 years old, 6 years old. I was born between two bumpers. Okay. I understand selling. I do. Let me know when you get it. So I think that with anything in life, it really is a balancing act. I don't deal in absolutes. An absolute would be, you know how this is. Everybody's like this today. Those are virtually never true.
Yep.
Never true.
Extrovert is a personality type that is often characterized by expressive and outgoing patterns of behavior. People who consider themselves extroverts tend to be very talkative, sociable, active, and warm.
Very talkative. So do we need to be very talkative? You betcha. You betcha. So it sounds like the best salesperson, no, and I'm being silly. Absolute fact, the best salesperson is going to be both an introvert
That's right.
and an extrovert at the same time.
Yes.
So we've exploded that myth. You got to stop the yakking. That's what my dad told me when I was literally, I'm not kidding you. It was 1978, summer of 78. So I'm 21 years old and I was just learning how to sell cars. And that was my dad.
Yeah.
So he was telling me to be more of an introvert versus an extrovert
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yes.
But you got to bounce back and forth between
That's
the
right. That's right.
two. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Myth number 2 to explode, debunk, or prove correct. Cold calling is dead. I hear this a lot.
Oh, that's a myth. That is an absolute myth. Again, it's a question of probability. So if we make 10 cold calls, how many people are we going to convert into a sale? Would you guess? 10 legit cold calls. We don't know these people. We've never talked to them.
I would guess
before.
1 of 10.
Okay, 1 of 10. And that's a tough deal. So that means we got to fail 9 times to get 1.
That's right.
Okay. So if we want to sell 5 cars, we're going to make 50 phone calls. And then the question becomes, is that doable? But you know what? Things are a little slow. It's COVID. It's a recession. Things are a little slow. What are you going to be doing anyways, Derek?
You're either going to waste time or you're going to make your downtime.
There's nobody coming in.
Time.
So now this becomes a really good strategy. So if there's a customer on the lot, the cold call goes away. We're not doing that.
Yep.
Oh, I can't talk to that customer because I've got to make these cold calls. Where's our best probability of selling a car today?
The person standing in the
Person standing on the lot.
Yep.
Where's a better possibility of selling a car today?
The person sitting in the showroom.
No, that's the same thing. I don't think you're going to be able to answer this question. See, I'm asking him now extemporaneously. Okay, so I'm not going to, I don't want to be silly. The best chance of us selling a car to a person would be if they are what we call a B back. So they were here before looking at a car. We didn't close the deal and now they're back.
Yep.
So that is a priority in terms of our daily activities in the automobile business is to follow up on our unsold customers so that we can get them back in here, hopefully, and our chances of selling a car are very high. So that would be called what we call it in the car business parlance, a B back. The second best probability of selling a car today is a repeat customer. Now, those are not necessarily as common per se because a guy buys a car yesterday, he's probably not going to buy another car today. Could happen, but probably not. But if we have a repeat customer, those close really high. So we want to. The idea would be in our daily activities, we want to cultivate as many repeat customers as we can. How do we do that? Service, training, service, and we do such a great job that the client wants to come back. And when they do come back, in terms of a repeat, we're going to sell a car at the highest possible rate of any client we can talk to. Those are very high sell scenarios. The next scenario would be what is called a referral. So Derek buys a car yesterday, and we do a great job, and he sends Jess down today to talk about a car. Again, those close at a very high rate. Not quite as high as the repeat, but they close very high. So we want to cultivate as many referrals as we can. How do we do that?
Service.
And training and service. Training. And what I mean by training is we want to ask the client that we just sold a car to, Derek, for referrals.
That's right.
We want him to know how important referrals are to us. Yes. It's a statement of how good we did with you, Derek.
That's right.
And so, boy, if you know anybody looking for a car, I would be so grateful if you could send it my way, sincerely. Yeah. So before you leave today, do you know anybody that's actively looking for a car right now?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I do. Let's get that information and let's call that client. Okay. So here's what we want to do talking about probability and scale. We want to cultivate as many B backs as we possibly can by treating the client right the first time that they come into the dealership. We want to create as many repeats as we can by treating the customer right that we sold a car to. We want to create as many referrals as we can by again treating the client as best possible we can in the sales process. So it's all about that process and making it easy and what a great day and all these types of things. And so with that in mind, we're going to build our business. Okay. Now, when all that stuff is maximized as best we can, and we still have a day where there's not a lot of people coming in.
So good.
That's where the cold calls
right.
come in.
That's right.
And so you're not doing anything anyways. You've done all your work. You've got everything done. The unsold customers have been called. The repeats have been called. The clients have been called. The referrals. Yeah. And that's what we did during the Great Recession with the Prosperity Plan is we had our salespeople calling the clients that they sold cars to and calling and asking for referrals and whatnot. And we did very well at that. But then we did cold calling as that's the last one. Yeah. It's the least effective one. Yeah. But if you're not doing anything else and you know that by calling 10, you're going to get one, and we have the time to call 50, well, guess what? We just sold 5 cars. Yeah. How important are those 5 cars?
Very important.
Pretty important to me.
Yep.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cold calling is definitely not dead.
And
that's
this
a myth.
works in all sales industries, right?
Of course.
I had a friend of mine the other day. I was like, what are you up to? He's like, I'm cold calling people. And I walked him up the ladder of what you've taught me over the years. I said, have you called for referrals? Have you called the repeats? He was like, what do you mean? I spent 20 minutes breaking down the process. And then he calls me a week later. He said, oh, I called somebody I worked with before to get a referral. And now I had another client want to work with me. And I said, man, this often people go right to the cold calling and they haven't thought about the other pieces.
Oh God, no, the cold calling is the last resort. Anybody that tells you cold calling is your number one priority, get in your car and leave the room. It's a bad idea. Okay. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question, but I want Eric to answer it. Excuse me. Is business bad out there or is business bad in here?
In here.
This is called out there is called the external locus of control. It's called the blame game, the victim game. Nobody's doing business. Nobody anywhere in the United States of America is going to sell a car today. Nobody? I don't think that's true. Is business bad out there? That's the external locus of control. The internal locus of control means that it's my fault. If business is bad, it's my fault. What can I do to make business better? And we just answered that. Yeah. And if you, please, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any kind of advice here. But I would recommend that you Google the external locus of control, which is the blame game, the victim game, versus the internal locus of control, which is the responsibility game. And I actually have a t-shirt, Derek, I do. Yes. And I wear it with pride. Everything is my fault. And what that means is, I know COVID-19 wasn't my fault. It wasn't. But what am I going to do about it? Okay?
Yep.
I went to work on my immune system.
Yep.
Figuring if this sucker's going to get me, guess what? It's in for a fight. Because I went to work on my immune system. Teas, nutrients, movement, sleep was a biggie. Mm-hmm. This is not medical advice, gang. Okay? Not. But I went to work on my immune system. Yeah. I got special teas. Yep. I found out it's spinach, by the way. It's not Doritos, okay, just in case you were wondering. Watch my weight, all kinds of things that I found. How can I enhance my immune system? Yeah. So that's called the internal locus of control.
Number 3, last sales myth. Could be true, could not be true. Conversations are more important than sales pitches.
That's called begging the question. The sales pitch should be a conversation. I don't like the word sales pitch. So right off the bat, I don't like that. Yep. It should be a conversation. Yes. But I don't want to waste time either.
That's correct.
For the client and for myself. So if I can do my job the right way.
That's right.
Remember, we're talking math here. We're talking math and probability. Okay. So I don't know whether you checked lately, but the last time I checked, there was 24 hours in the day, not 25. Mm-hmm. So I can't get more time in the day.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. But I can make my time more efficient. So if I could spend an hour with the client and sell a car versus spending 2 hours with a client and sell a car, which one's better?
The 1 hour. And you were blowing my mind off camera one day where you were like, man, some dealerships are taking 4 or 5 hours and you were taking 1 or 2.
Yeah. But hold on, there's more to it.
Keep going.
So I take 1 hour, I sell a car versus 2 hours, I sell a car. And believe me, we've done 2 hours and sell a car. So it's okay. 1 hour, sell a car is better than 2 hours, sell a car. Number one. Number two, how about 1 hour, don't sell a car, 2 hours, do sell a car? Which one's better?
2 hours do.
See? How about 2 hours don't sell a car, 2 hours don't sell a car, 1 hour do sell a car, 3 hours don't sell a car? You start to see a pattern here. Mm-hmm. This gets to be where there's a lot of time that is just really not working out for us. Yep. So we want to be able to get as much accomplished in that time frame as we can. Mm-hmm. And that's where scale comes into play. So typically we felt that the salesperson should spend 1 hour with the client before we presented numbers. That was just what the number was. We studied our successful salesperson. We were always keeping track of the time they spent, and we knew it was around an hour, maybe 70 minutes. So let's just say 70 minutes. Hi, how are you? Here's your price. 70 minutes is how long it took to build that value that we needed to build so that we could ask the client to buy the car. And so if we took too much time, that was a problem.
Yeah.
We knew that. We would actually call a manager.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy's been with this customer for X number of time. Let's see what's going on. Go introduce yourself. And let's make sure we're not boring this client to death. So we know the meet and greet, and 30 minutes later, the salesperson is coming to my office for a price. And we knew, wait a second, what steps are you missing here? We go through we interview the salesperson. It's okay, let's slow this thing down a little bit. Let me work on the price. Tell your client I'm doing 2 other price rounds. It's going to take about 15, 20 minutes. And I want you to go do that service walk that you missed. Okay. And I want you to get them a refreshment that you missed. Okay. And I want you to make sure that you show them the trunk. You didn't show them the trunk. What the heck's wrong with you, man? Come on. So they go do those 3 things and then would send them the numbers. So it had to be the right amount of time, which in our world, in my world, I should say, was 60 to 70 minutes, preferably 70. And we knew if it was a lot less than that, it was a problem. And if it was a lot more than that, man, no good.
Man, you're just giving such good,
It's real. It's visceral.
advice on just so many people. You know, sometimes I remember being in a call one time and this person just wanted to talk and talk.
That's not good.
I was just like, man, this was obviously I was selling them, but I was like, I want to help them. But I also I'm not here to talk for 4 hours.
No. In that regard, as a salesperson, we got to get the client back on target, back on task, right? That can be challenging because you don't want to be rude, but we got to get them back on task.
Yeah.
And the task is, wait a second, we didn't look at the trunk yet. Let's do that. We try to keep moving them around the process of what are the things, the hot buttons. We got to keep on the hot buttons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, thank you for just taking a lot of these sales myths, everything from cold calling to just different pieces. You went through that whole referral process.
Cold calling
Feedbacks.
is a great strategy. If it's your number one strategy, you're not making any money. So ponder that one. Think about what I said. The cold calling is something that we fill the day in with.
Yeah.
If you're sitting around doing nothing, you're not selling.
Yes.
So can't we take, Jim Rohn used to call that making your downtime prime time.
Yes.
Why can't you make cold calls? I got a client coming in 20 minutes. Okay, you can make 4 cold calls in.
Yeah.
Make the cold calls.
Yep.
Make that downtime prime time.
Yeah.
And if you get 1 out of 10, that means you make your 4, you got yourself a deal. Let me tell you something. When it comes time to pay the bills, you'll be very grateful for that extra deal, which over the course of a month, cold calling is going to get you 5 extra deals. Now, hey, sales guys and girls, you know where you're at. You just finished a month. You know where you're at. You just now finished a month. What difference would 5 delivered cars make to you in terms of your paycheck, your hip national bank? Now, I want you to think about that one because this is real. This is real. I'm speaking real here. And I love this stuff. I love selling cars. I do. But if we could get you 5 extra deals, I'm telling you, it's life-changing. That's 60 a year. Yeah. Do the math. It's a mathematical game. I told you that. It's a mathematical game. Look at what your average commission or pay is per car sold. And I don't know how your pay plans work, but there's a number you can come to. And whatever that number is, multiply that times 60 right now. Do it right now. Holy cow. I just paid for a trip to Europe. How cool would that be?
That's amazing.
By making my downtime prime time.
Yeah.
So cold calling is definitely not dead. If you're not doing cold calling, you're making a huge categorical mistake. I'm telling you.
Yep.
Make your downtime prime time.
Yeah. So gang, we teach this whole process that Jim is talking about in terms of personal development and sales development in Rethink You 2.0. Also, we have a few spots left where Jim is coaching folks one-on-one. So if you want to do either of those things, I will leave a link to Rethink You 2.0 down below. And please, if you want to work with Jim one-on-one, go through a lot of the stuff that he's talking about, either in person or on Zoom, please message us. We would love to see one more person helped.
And I know it's me, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun. We get down and dirty when we go one-on-one. And I'm actually working with the fella. I'm not going to name his name. That's not fair. But he's in Florida, and we do it via Zoom. And his sales have gone through the roof to the degree that his boss said, I'm not going to say his name, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm working with Jim Shorkey."
Wow.
That's what I'm doing. And he's ringing the bell. He's ringing a bell.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, guys. If you haven't seen part 1,